Hello everybody, BloodyIron here again with PazzoGaming, continuing our arcade maps spotlight series. In this video we bring to you an incredible arcade map involving massive mechs, IronFire. As the map developer says, victory is forged with blood and iron. And I could not agree more. Let's take a look at this fabulous map. So, this map has 4 modes of play: Deathmatch, Team Deathmatch, IronFire, and Survival. Why they decided to name the third mode the same name as the game, I don't know. But Deathmatch and Team Deathmatch have their own map, like kind of a cityscape. IronFire is a completely different mode on a completely different map. It is kind of cityscape, but it is more of a kind of MOBA style map. Completely different from the first two. So the Deathmatch and Team Deathmatch are cityscape with a bit of open, but IronFire, like I said, is MOBA, except there's MOBA related objectives as well as AI that spawns. We're not going to be getting into IronFire today. Survival is on a completely other tile set too, another map, but it's a co-op versus AI mode. So in a second here we're going to get into Deathmatch mode, and we'll cover the fundamentals of the game and how this mode plays. Alright, and here begins the Deathmatch mode here. So for IronFire, it's actually 2 to 10 players no matter what mode you're going to be playing here. So in Deathmatch and Team Deathmatch, so it's on the same cityscape. Team Deathmatch, it's just people get split into 2 teams and they fight it out. But we're playing Deathmatch so that it's free for all. Now initially we're going to come to a screen here where we see the Mech Selection. It'll be heavy, medium, light, and in a second I will cover further details on that. But choose wisely, because you can't change the mech that you selected once you start. You can only upgrade it or modify it. You can't switch the mech frame that you have. Now, sometimes you're going to be changing your selection based on the mode. For example, Survival, you might not want to be going with lighter mechs, but I'll come back to that. So the mechs are first broken down into heavy, medium, and light classes, and then there's specific actual models of them. Now, you'll notice there's the names, there's a kind of type of weaponry that they have, as well as a brief description of their roles. Take note that in addition to not being able to switch which mechs you pick, the mech that you choose locks in the classifications of weapons that you can use. So a missile mech, you'll only be able to buy missile weapons for it. As your primary weapons, there are still some melee weapons that are obviously not going to be related to missiles. And then there's ones that are multiple weapon categories, so energy as well as ballistics. Now myself, I'm going to be going with a Titan because... Actually, no, I'm going to go with something heavy today. I'm going to go with an energy-based mech here. So I select my chassis, and now I can actually customize it. I'll be able to customize it throughout the game. This is just kind of initial customization. Let's see now. I'm going to upgrade my shields. Actually, before I do that, so that we have weapons, components, utilities, and then kind of statistics of it. You can group your weapons into groups. I haven't really seen a good reason to do that just yet, but it is available as an option. I'm not certain the function of experience in this map, either pilot or mech. Oh, I didn't even realize that there was leveling here. 4 experience. I guess I'm not doing all that well in this mech. In the weapons section, you can click on the different sections of the mech itself, as well as the other sections. You can do the same. Right arm, left arm, torso, and legs. Some mechs you don't even have the ability to have weapons on the torso. So some of the medium mechs are like that. I haven't really ever seen weapons on legs before, so there's that. On the right arm, you can purchase a melee weapon, the blade as they call it. I haven't really tried it out too much myself, as I really like to keep my distance. On the left, in addition to the weaponry, you can also buy a shield. It's kind of a temporary shield, generally forward. I might get that in a bit. And then under components, they're more upgrades for the mech frame itself, so you can get an increase to your shield, count as well as the regen rate of it. You can make it so that your torso turning is substantially faster, as well as increasing the hit points of your mech itself. So when I buy a shield for the left or right arm, either of them, it applies to both of them. This will make sense in a second when we take a look at the HUD in the game. And there's several other categories in the other sections that I'm not going to go into. There's simply so many different options here. Utilities are not specific to the position. They're generally across the whole mech, so you can only get so many of them. Some of these are activatable, some of them are passive. For example, in a mech where I would have ammo, it would be a good idea to get ammo synthesizer. Now, I use energy on this mech, so it's not really going to be useful for me. And there's so many different modules that you can play around with here. I'm just going to buy a few more weapons and jump into this heavy energy. Let's see, I have... Okay, so the effective resources that you have is the mech chassis mass as well as the prestige. So this number here is the amount of mass that this upgrade, or weapon in this case, will use, and this is the amount of prestige that it will cost. Prestige is one of the currencies that you earn in many different ways, either periodically, as you can see here, or by killing other mechs, or in the case of survival, killing invading units. Heavy explosive laser with light mass but low energy requirement. I suppose I'll try that. And massive energy cannon, sprint is firepower, 3-second charge up time. I'm going to buy that. Alright, so I'm a heavy mech here, as you see, but I move actually quite slowly. The controls are WASD to move around, shift to lock the direction that the legs are facing. This will make more sense in a second. And I aim my weapons and the mech with the mouse. Left click fires the arm weapons, and right click fires the torso weapons. Now, I find it kind of hard to control the mech in its default state, so you press H to turn on aim assist. This green arrow indicates the facing direction of your legs, and that kind of more demonstrates what it's like when you lock your directions, the direction of the lower legs. The reason I like to lock the direction of my lower legs when I'm in combat is that it forces my mech to respond in a more controlled fashion. So if I unlock it and I start moving around, as you can see, it starts turning my legs, and that starts limiting my ability to actually aim, because if I'm trying to move back here and then I can't aim up here because my torso just can't turn in that direction, that's really the driving reason why I like to lock the direction of my lower legs here. Now, I don't have any weapons that require locks, but to lock onto a mech, you just mouse over it and hit T. It'll give you some information in the top right and continue to have this circle around them. And then you'll be able to actually fire weapons that require locks. Generally, missiles, some of them require locks, and there's a few other weapons that do too. I don't know the full list of all the weapons that require that. So, in the HUD here, you'll notice that there's the mini-map in the bottom left. There's this weird custom panel in the bottom left, just beside that. This is actually where you can take a look at how many munitions you have and then spend them on either doing instantaneous damage to your opponents or summoning units to support you, or a whole variety of different things. The categories are artillery, aerial, and tech. To switch between the different categories, it's F1, 2, and 3, and then to trigger each of the different functions, it's control 1 through 6, as it says here. So for example, I can summon some mech reinforcements here. I'm going to go over here, and it summons where my pointer is, and I'm going to go control 5. So they're going to... Oh, no, I might not be in range. So there, they kind of get summoned down there. And I'm going to go to aerial, and I'm going to summon some banshees, which are actually very strong. And they're going to patrol the area for a little while. Now, you generally want to kind of keep these close to you, as they will assist you in battle, but there's benefits to summoning them at a distance. As you can see, they grant you vision. but there's so many different ways to spend your munitions here. Munitions, just like Prestige, are earned periodically. You can also attach components. Oh, I killed someone there. To passively earn you munitions. Now continuing on to the rest of the HUD here, you'll see there's left arm, right arm, and torso. The green corresponds to the hit points of the mech for that section. When hit points for either of the arms are reduced to 0, you lose that arm in whatever weaponry it had, as well as additional functionality. And if your torso drops to 0, your mech is destroyed. Now the blue numbers here represent the shields, which do regenerate when they're not being hit. And as you can see, my shields are substantially more resilient than my hull itself. So this is an opponent mech here, and just below it, he's getting chased by a a monster that spawned. Now they're not even really fighting me, so I'm just going to ignore him and try and kill this Hydra person. Oh, I'm in trouble, so I'm going to summon some Banshees to assist me, and I might die here. Oh, I'm going to try and retreat. And I died. Fortunately, respawning doesn't take that long in this game, and when you respawn, you can also upgrade at the same time. So I'm going to boost my shields. That'll further increase the hit points for the shields, and it'll also increase the rate at which they regenerate. I'm just going to leave it at that for the time being. Now below that, to the sides, you'll see Q and E. Now neither of them are necessarily populated. Q is where I would trigger that temporary shield that I was that you can upgrade to your mech. I'll cover that in a second here. And E is the melee weaponry. Now by default you can only hit with your fist, but you can get bladed weapons for melee functions. I haven't really played too much around with it, so can't really speak too much about that. And then below that you have your energy meter. Now since I'm in energy weapon mech, this matters more to me. As you can see, my energy meter is dropping quite quickly here. There are upgrades where I can increase my capacity as well as regen of energy, but I don't really feel all that hurting right now for that, so I'm not going to bother. And then beside that is ammunition. Now none of my weapons right now use ammunition, and this really matters more on ballistics mechs, so I don't really have to worry about that at all. Below that we have an array of abilities that I can trigger. Every single mech comes with its own unique starting abilities. So I can, for example, press space to get a speed boost, as well as it also raises me off the ground, and I can go over small structures. Not all mechs have that. They have different abilities. Some just move fast and don't fly. Some fly higher. All sorts of different options. And there's 2 other abilities. Every mech has 3 in total. Barrier, generate holographic resonance, stationary pillars that absorb damage. So this is more of a temporary wall that I can instill. Unleash massive energy discharge in front for 2 seconds. What? Oh, there we go. And you can add some more as components. This is part of the active or passive section that I was covering earlier for components. Now, if you find yourself in a state where you need to repair or you want to upgrade, you can just hit N and it will start the retreat process. Once you hit N, you cannot cancel it, you cannot move, you cannot defend yourself. And when you make it back, it instantly repairs your hit points and shields. So these are the sections, Z, X, CV. As you can tell, that binds to the same buttons that you saw earlier. So some examples, I can use this to jam weapon locks. This would be good to counter missile mechs. But for the time being, I'm going to get a shield. Oh, I need to upgrade my mass. Now, all mechs can be upgraded 5 times to give them 100 mass extra each time. And to do that, you go to Components, go to any one of these segments, and it's always at the bottom, Hull Nano Compression. Now, the different segments don't have any difference whatsoever. It's 5 times total for the whole mech. But as you can see, that freed up enough mass for me to be able to get the shield upgrade here. Now, this gives me a triggerable shield, but it also causes all sections to have increased shield regeneration rate. Now, again, and press H for that aim assist. Oh, I triggered my shield. And as you can see, I have a status bar above the top of my head, which represents the strength of the shields remaining. Now I'm going to hit Q again to deselect. Now, in the aim assist, you'll see that there's 3 beams here. The red one represents the direction that the torso is facing. The 2 blue beams represent the arms themselves. As you can see there, the way they aim changes depending on how far away my cursor is from the mech itself. As each of the arms are actually aiming for where my mouse pointer is. To zoom out, the scroll wheel does nothing. You simply have to move closer to the edge of the screen itself, and as you continue to do that, it'll zoom out more and more. But my opponent is point blank here, so I'm just going to destroy them and get back to demonstrating the zooming. Oh, no. I'm going to try and target them, see if I can get some hit point information. No, you don't get current hit point information. So at 250 resources that I just got, the prestige demonstrates that I destroyed one of their arms. When you destroy a mech's arms, you get 250 for each arm, and then 500 for the mech itself. It is being a bit of a pig to destroy. Now I'm summoning in some banshees, not only to assist with killing that mech itself, but also this other mech that has been harassing me from behind. So I activate my temporary shield to increase my defenses while I engage it. Oh. As you can see, the mech's arms are blown off and it is now dead. So this generally encompasses the fundamentals of how this map works, as well as the cityscape and map for the deathmatch and team deathmatch mode. We will be continuing coverage onto the survival mode shortly. Alright, and now we jump into IronFire survival mode. It's a co-op versus AI survival. Well, kind of explains itself, except you're playing against AI and defending against monsters, and I don't know why, but there's rebels or something like that. The goal is to survive 40 minutes, and since you're not actually playing against the other players, generally heavier mechs are a good idea, since mobility doesn't really give you much of an advantage on here. So, distinct from deathmatch and team deathmatch, which is strictly based on kill score, this is time based. So I'm going to stick with the heavy. I'm going to go with energy again because that was pretty sweet. Now, as you can see here, the different abilities of the different mechs change. There is some overlap, but there's a lot of diversity within them. Some mechs also have the ability to go stealth. I don't really know how to counteract it myself, and it's actually pretty well done in this because they don't go fully invisible. It's harder to see them, but it's a nice balance between being able to see them and not. There's also other stats here, such as the actual starting weapons, mobility, hull points, shields, etc. Now, again, I'm going to go with the energy one because I was liking the feel of those energy weapons. You start with quite a bit of prestige at the beginning. I'm going to get some more Sunfire. Maybe? I'm going to get one of them again. Actually, yeah, I'll just get them. Shield booster. And there. Now, to see the score in the game, both in Team Deathmatch mode, IronFire, as well as Survival, you just press Tab. It doesn't really matter all that much in Survival, but I guess it's curious if you want to pay attention to stats. So as you can see, it's a completely different layout here. You effectively are defending a shoreline. The beasts and monsters come from below, but on the sides here, rebel units come in from the east as well as the west. Most of the defenses kind of thwart them, but occasionally you might want to assist them. The majority of the threats exist from the beasts that come from the ocean. As time progresses, they become harder to fight, there becomes more of them, and there are boss waves. They don't really tell you when they happen, but they're more of a time-based. So I'm only going to be covering this for a little bit longer, as we've effectively covered the core fundamentals of what IronFire is all about. And it'll take a few minutes before a boss wave actually shows up. So this concludes our spotlight of IronFire. I'm BloodyIron with PazzoGaming. We cover arcade maps, Minecraft mods, and so much more. If you like what we do, please subscribe. We also appreciate feedback. Coming up in a second, you'll see some of our other videos. So again, I'm BloodyIron. Thanks for watching, and keep on gaming.